Peace and love for the cat people. I didn't think you left Warwick.
I don't like to leave Warwick unless I have to.
Bananas.
75 yards from shore and come across a great white shark.
75 yards?
He calls himself a Swiftie.
It's really
unbelievable. Every single day went and got hot wings my entire senior year. What do you think?
Yeah.
You're not even qualified to vote.
I want to know what the people think. They're trying to sell the house.
Ding, ding, ding. Win a chicken dinner. Welcome to Shootin' the SHT, real banter with Nick and not with JT today, but we are coming to you live from the Slocum Agency for a very special episode. Before I get into that, I just want to let you know this episode is brought to you by Polar Premium Seltzer, refreshingly natural, family made since 1882. Cheers, gentlemen.
Cheers.
Anyway, into a more serious matter, we do have two guests here today. My father, Phil Slocum, and my cousin, Christopher Slocum, to talk about a very important upcoming date in our family's and business's history. So this upcoming Monday, April 15th, is our 75th anniversary. Something we're very proud of and very excited about celebrating not just this Monday, but for the next year or so. Got a lot of fun things planned, including this very special edition of Shootin' the SHT, a podcast brought to you by the Slocum home team. So welcome to the show, guys.
Hey, thanks, Nick. Looking forward to it. It's a lot of fun.
Awesome. Sounds good. All right, let's jump right in then. So we will talk a little bit about the anniversary. How about you guys start a little introduction? Tell me about yourselves. How long you've been in the business, things along those lines, what you like to do in your free time, long walks on the beach, things along those lines. So, Christopher, take us away.
Oh, you want the young one to start. All right. I'm Chris. I've been here in the business in some capacity for almost 20 years. Started getting my licenses in college on the summers.
You're a year ahead of me.
Yeah, I think, what's that put me at then? 2004, I think, right?
Yeah. I was 2006. You might have been 04. I'm not sure. Yeah.
Either way, almost 20 years. Focused primarily on the insurance end of things. And what do I do in my free time? I love fishing, personally. Love the water. So that's just me in a nutshell.
What's the biggest fish you've ever caught?
I caught a 48.5-pound striper. It's the biggest one that I've ever caught.
That's a big bass.
It is a big bass. How about you?
I don't know. Probably something 40, low 40s. Definitely not as talented as you are on the water. That's for sure.
I'm not going to argue with you about that. But
what's your favorite way to catch a striped bass, Chris?
Rod and reel, Nick.
No, I know, but is it like, is it a lure? Is it live bait? Like, what is the secret to Chris Slocum's
fishing success? Troll, tube, and worm.
Tube and worm. Okay.
Exactly.
Nice. I like it.
Umbrella rig or no umbrella rig?
That's cheating.
Wow, it is cheating, isn't it?
It is cheating.
It's really heavy, too, as well, when you go to reeling in. But hey, anyway, let's turn it over to the old man here. Let's welcome Phil Slocum to the show.
What? Okay.
Tell us a little bit about yourself, Phil, and the timer has started.
Okay, let me see if I can condense this down to no more than half an hour. Well, I've been around here for a little while. I think I'm celebrating my 46th year in business here. Got into the business. I grew up in the business, but I really got into it officially about 1978. Had spent some time here before that as well as a Ute. But it's been a long 46 years and been a lot of fun for sure, without question. We've watched this agency going in so many positive directions and so many great accomplishments. It's been a blast. It really, really has. What do I like to do? I like to be around family. I love to travel. I was always a very big boater. I had my 100-ton captain's license and spent a lot of time on the water and a lot of time with family at Block Island, various places. So very much connected to the ocean state.
Love that. It's fantastic. Well, I'm excited about this. We're going to dive into the history of the company, where it's been, where it is now, where we're going. And super excited I'll probably learn some things that I never knew today. So hopefully our audience will as well. I'm sure they will. So I'm pumped to see where this goes. Let's kick it off, Phil. Certainly the beginning portion of this podcast, if not the whole thing, you'll probably give the greatest context to. But tell us about what you know from our grandparents, George and Hazel, how the agency was started, and some of the earliest stories you can recall from your parents about starting the business.
Well, there's so many directions I could run with that. But without question, I think the agency started, your grandfather, my father, started it April 15th, 1949. And at the time, he had come out of the service, and he was working for what in those days were called the factory mutual insurance companies. Now they're known as the Allendale insurance companies. And he quickly realized he had a passion for and loved the insurance business. But work at the company level was not his thing. And he had some other friends and colleagues that were independent insurance agents, and he thought that was the thing for him. He was George was a true entrepreneur, for sure. And in those days, I was just born, or actually prior to me being born. We lived on Sunny Cove Drive in Buttonwoods, and he started the business in the second story of the Cape on Sunny Cove Drive. And from policy number one, I can remember he always used to say he sold the first policy to his uncle. And from policy number one, and while they were starting to raise their family and get going, he was trying to figure out how to make ends meet. It was a really, really exciting time. From there, when he finally got to the point where he said, okay, I need to get out and have an office front, he moved right around the corner to what is commonly known in Warwick as Wiles Corners. Used to be a building right there that was 2 stories, and he struck a deal with the owner of the building to manage it for him, collect all the rents and maintenance and that kind of stuff. And he had an office in the upstairs of that building. And I guess the thing
I remember the 1-story building there, but I don't remember the 2-story building.
It was a 2-story brick building there. Yeah. First floor was Bayshore Pharmacy, Sam's New York Systems, D&L Gun Supplies.
Where our love for wieners began.
Yeah, exactly. Where our love for our wieners began. Exactly. And when you went in this building, it was a brick building, story over story, but it had the steepest staircase I have ever seen to the day in my life. It was like, I don't know, probably 35 stairs, and it was like climbing a ladder. It was unbelievable. But anyway, he had an office upstairs there and operated out of there for many, many years. Then, I don't remember exactly.
Let's rewind a bit. Can I pause this for a second?
Yeah.
How long was he on the company side for before he started the agency?
I think only a small handful of years, 4 or 5 years maybe.
Okay.
So not that long.
Do you recall hearing who the first company was that he took on as an independent
I
agent?
do. Very well.
Who was that?
The first company was the Aetna Insurance Company.
Okay.
It isn't even in business anymore.
You went to the Aetna school when you started.
I went to the Aetna
forwarding
home
a little while ago.
Absolutely.
But,
I went to the Aetna home office school, as did my partner and Chris's dad, Bob. And the second company was Employers Mutual Insurance Company.
Okay.
That had a base right here in Warwick. You got super friendly with all the powers that be there. So Employers was his second company.
That's awesome. Now, I know early on he had his real estate license, as many insurance agents did back then. It was kind of almost an ancillary service. Was that kind of right from the get-go? Or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Happened all the time. Of course, back in those days, respectfully, I say there wasn't testing and all that kind of stuff. You just apply for your license and you got it. Mm-hmm. And again, you're talking about late 1940s, early 1950s. Every insurance agent out there had an insurance license and a real estate license to try and promote to their clients, hey, you know, if you're going to sell your house or looking for a house, I can help you with that too.
Sure.
And he didn't do a half dozen transactions a year.
Okay.
But it was a service that he offered. He was an insurance guy, true and true.
So sometime in the 50s, he moved to this building on Wilds Corner, right?
I would say, no, that was probably more in the 60s.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, he worked out of home for at least 10 years.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was probably early 1960s.
So right when you were a young pup,
yeah,
huh?
exactly.
Yeah.
When I was a pup, I think that's probably why he left. I was probably making too much noise crying in the crib. Yeah, and he moved to that building.
So what do you remember as a kid around that building?
Around that building?
Yeah.
I used to go in, not when I was a little kid, but I used to go in my early teens. I used to empty the waste paper baskets on the weekend, file the files in the filing cabinet. But it was, as I said, it was a second story, very old 1920s building probably, or earlier than that. And, you know, it was old school. You, I'm sure, I know, remember all the pictures of the old office furniture in our previous location.
Greenwich Avenue.
Greenwich Avenue,
Yep.
exactly. We haven't even gotten to that stage yet. But there was even pictures before that, you know, of, I mean, old gray filing cabinets and old gray desks. And,
Gray's better than orange.
Don't tell your grandfather that.
Yeah.
Exactly.
They
a lot
sure
of the gray ones were painted orange. That's how we got away with it.
Is it really?
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow. So how about employees? Like, when did he start bringing on employees and growing the agency? What was that like?
Yeah, at the point at which he moved out of the house and to that building, he brought on his first employee.
Okay.
His first employee was a gal by the name of Natalie Stewart. And Nat was his office manager, his right arm, his everything. I think she probably came on part-time in the beginning and then grew to full-time.
The first make it happen captain.
Exactly.
Yeah,
The first
like-
make it happen captain.
Yeah.
And it was, she was his right arm in the whole thing. And it ultimately got to the point where it was her and maybe one other part-time woman. And that was the only reason my father and our family could even get away for a long weekend.
Mm-hmm.
In those days, vacations weren't even a topic of conversation. And a vacation was a trip up north.
Sure. New Hampshire you went to a lot,
New
right?
Hampshire.
Yep.
We used to go White Oak Motel in Holdens, New Hampshire.
Yep.
Yeah, I can remember my father and my godfather almost bought that motel. And another story, another time.
Next podcast.
Exactly. But anyway, New Hampshire was a big vacation for 4 days.
Okay.
And it was only because of Natalie and one or two other women he had.
That's fantastic. When did Nana and Bump? We for those at home, George is. We used to call him Bumpa when he was still with us,
There's
and
a story
Hazel
there.
was Nana. Yeah. So tell us the story about Bumpa. Where'd that even come from?
And Bumpa came from actually when my sister was having her first child, Shani. We were not Shani was not with us, but it was just that time frame. We were going down to Yago Ski Valley to ski. Myself, my brother-in-law, Bump, and I think your father, probably Bob. We're going down to Yago to ski after a snowstorm. Bump lost control of the car, wound up in a snow ditch. Wanted to have the car towed out, and when the tow truck showed up to tow him out of the ditch, pulled the bumper right off the car. And of course, everybody was busting his crackers about losing control and the bumper on the back of the tow truck and the car still in the ditch and that kind of thing. And it said, well, we'll have to get Shani to grow up calling you Bumpa, and that's where it all came from.
That's funny.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about what inspired the entrepreneurial spirit of George and Hazel, for that matter.
Well, I don't know what inspired it particularly because, my grandfather, his father, Eugene, where your
My middle name.
namesake.
Yeah.
He was a laundryman.
Okay.
Worked for Loudon Laundry. So he was go to work every day, work 50 hours a week in the whole 9 yards. My grandfather, Pop Holton, Nan's father, worked for the city of Cranston. He was a groundskeeper at Cranston Stadium in those days. So there was no entrepreneurial spirit in the family genes, if you will. But Bump came out of the service and went to work, as I said, for the Factory Mutuals. But there was something inside of him that told him he wanted to be in control of his own destiny. And again, I think that's the entrepreneur. And he used to sum it up by calling it the fire in the belly. And I can remember in my career, we talk about staff and growing our team and all those kinds of things. And his classic line to me was always, Phil, listen to me. You can teach anybody anything, but if they don't have the fire in their belly, they're only going to go so far.
It was one of the first lessons you told me when I joined the agency.
Yep.
Is you need to have that fire in the belly, and thankfully, I feel like we did anyway when we got started. And when we look at these, new folks joining our company, things along those lines, we can teach them the business, we can teach them the methods, but if they're not willing to put in the work themselves,
they don't want it more than we want it for them.
It's not going to work.
Right.
It just never will. So you can lead that horse to water, you can't make the horse drink. You know, so it's certainly critical to have that burning desire deep down inside, no doubt about it.
So no question, Bump had it.
Yeah.
George had it. He wanted it more than anything else, and he visualized and he had a vision for everything, every next step in life.
Absolutely.
Whether it was the next car, or the next house, or the next business venture, or where to go on a vacation, whatever it was, he had that vision always. So it was good. It was a great gift.
Cool. In the show notes too that you sent me, that we were kind of just putting some bullet points together before we sat down to discuss this. You had something about the insurance guy. Talk to me about the insurance guy.
I think that was the thing that he always said to me he loved most about the insurance business, was that certainly in those days, and it's kind of sad a little bit where it's got to today, and I can chat about that a little too, but in those days, the 60s, the 70s, people had their insurance guy. And the insurance guy, and that isn't male or female, but the insurance guy would typically go out to the house at night, sit at their kitchen table, talk to them about what they had going on in life, how many kids they had. I was buying my wife a special pair of earrings for Christmas. Do I need to insure it? All those kinds of things. And the insurance guy really got to know their clients and what their exposures were and how to take care of them and do the job right. And when
you got to think the industry in general has kind of lost that over the years,
that's
right?
absolutely going to be my point. With the 1-800s and the .coms and save 15% in 15 minutes. Not that money isn't important. We get that. And we, as an agency to this day, we strive to save every customer every nickel we can without sacrificing coverage. But in those days, that wasn't the focus. The focus was, I want, as a consumer, I want safety. I want security. I trust you. Tell me what it's all about. And that was your insurance guy.
Love that. Very neat. I think we take that philosophy of both sides of our business these days.
We
Whether
do.
it's the insurance guy, the real estate guy, you have to develop that relationship with the client to understand not only what they're hoping to accomplish now, but really what their true motivations are in the long run and how you can help them get to where they want to be. So properly in the most efficient way possible. So
Listen to the dreams.
Absolutely. Yeah. Right. I think one of the other lessons you passed down to me, not in the show notes, so I apologize on this one, but I remember you telling me something that George passed down to you when I first joined this business. And it was the minute that you put the commission dollar ahead of your client's best interests is the last day that you'll be in this business.
Absolutely.
So break that down for me, what that means and that philosophy about how we like to operate on both sides, insurance and real estate, and what that means.
Sure. You're absolutely right. It was the first day, and I know my father did it, I'm sure with my brother Bob, and I'm sure with others as well. But the first day I ever stepped foot in that agency full-time as a career, he sat me down across the conference room table like this, and he said, Phil, understand something. The first day you put the commission dollar ahead of the customer's need is the last day you'll ever be in this business. And I said, yeah, okay, Dad. And he said, no, listen to me. And I said, no, I get it. He said, I'm telling you. And you know why that is? I said, why? He said, because I won't have to tell you. The customer's going to tell you. Because the customer's going to see right through what you're doing or what you're saying based upon the dollar signs in your eyes.
Commission breath.
Yeah, commission breath, as we call it.
Smell it from a mile away.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
and I've always been brought up in that environment. And I think I brought you guys up in that environment. And you've embraced it so well that everybody in here knows it's not about. I don't think we ever look at how much am I going to make on that policy, how much am I going to make of that real estate transaction. Mm-hmm. That's an after the fact that takes care of itself. It's an end to the means.
I know when I first got into the business, and we'll talk about this more in a little bit, but I know when I first came in, you really drove home the point of not tracking on the real estate side volume,
right?
On the insurance side policy premium. Yeah. It was how many policies did you sell, and how many people did you help buy or sell real estate? Who cares about the price point? Who cares about the premium? It doesn't matter. Everything else will take care of itself. If you have a Rolodex, so to speak, or a book of business of satisfied.
Wow, did you really just say Rolodex?
Rolodex. I'm getting
Holy
old.
cow.
Huh? Yeah, seriously.
Wow.
Yeah.
I just got a visual flash in my mind.
Oh, yeah.
Holy cow.
I'm trying to think back what you told me when I first got in the business. I bet it was Rolodex. Note cards, index cards with the expiration dates on them, right?
I used to carry one in my top pocket.
Oh, my goodness. Exactly. How many people have you helped? How many people know you, trust you, like you, and are willing to refer you more business?
Yeah.
If they have that level of trust with you, that's really where the true success
you won.
Exactly.
Then you won.
For sure.
You deserve to be at the table.
I love that. Excellent. So we talked a lot about when you were young. When did Bob enter the business? I know he's a bit older than you are.
Yeah, Bob is way older than me. No, Bob's about 4 years older than I am.
Okay.
And he's. I often say, and unfortunately Bob's not with us today. He's retired now, and doing okay. He's struggling, as we all know, a little bit with a little medical challenge or Parkinson's, but he's fighting through and doing a great job. But Bob, I often say and describe as he, in his career, was probably the best insurance tactician and expert I've ever known. He had it down, and that came from his dedication to wanting to be that expert. A funny story about Bob is that, he, like me, came into the business in his teens, really. Bump had this old school philosophy that when either one of us joined the business, you start off in the accounting. Because he had this philosophy, if you don't know where the money comes from and goes to, you can't run the business, ever. So he started
A lot of
us off-
logic behind that, I would
There's
think,
a
right?
lot of logic.
Yeah.
And in those days, it was very old school. You had index cards.
Yeah.
You used to manually write when Nick paid his bill and how much he paid and all that stuff.
Sounds awful. I probably never would have made it if I had to do that.
Exactly. But that was his philosophy. You started there.
Yeah.
Till you understood that, you couldn't go anywhere else. So Bob did it. I did it the whole bit. So Bob gets through high school, gets into college. He graduated from URI with an insurance and finance major. Did a great job, graduated summa cum laude or whatever the heck it was, and just the brain he absolutely was. And we were all getting ready for his college graduation. And Nan and Bump's house was in Warwick Neck, had a pretty nice view of the water. And Bump decided he was going to trim the trees. And he literally climbed up the weekend before Bob's graduation, climbed up to what we lovingly joked about him raking the leaves from the top. He climbed up the tree to cut and top the trees, so the view was just perfect for the party that was going to happen in the backyard. Unfortunately, Bump fell out of the tree, flat down onto a stump he had just cut and broke his back. So that was on like a Wednesday or Thursday evening, Bob was graduating on Sunday from URI. Bump's, of course, in a hospital, and
Did he make it to the graduation?
Oh, no.
Really?
Oh, no. Bump never made it to graduation. He was in the hospital.
I never heard that he didn't make it to the graduation. I knew he broke his back, but I didn't know the rest of the story.
Oh, no. He was in a hospital for over a month.
Really?
Yeah. Full traction, full body armor, the whole 9 yards. It was rough. But anyway, Bob graduates on Sunday, and, Bob graduates and immediately comes in here on Monday morning, and he's running the agency.
Right from day one.
Right from day one.
Wow.
He's running the agency. Coming in with a team of Natalie, in those days Ruthie Wisnowski, and a few others, a couple of others that had been in place. Thankfully, he had them. But Bob was immediately thrust into, okay, now you're the Slocum in the house. Yeah.
So Bob comes in day one. He's basically running it.
Yeah.
Now you come in 4 years later, essentially?
Yeah, 4 or 5 years later. Okay. Yep.
So you went to college and you majored in insurance and real estate.
Yeah, exactly. I went to J&W. And,
so hold on a second.
I'm sorry.
Bob majors in insurance and finance. You major in insurance and real estate. My question is, back in these days, could you just make up any major you wanted to when you went to school? Or?
No, I'm sure it might sound that way, but actually, the reason I chose J&W was it was the only school around that we had both businesses, and we knew we were going to want to grow the real estate some. There was no other colleges around that had even majors in one or the other with a minor in the alternate one.
Seems strange that they would offer that as like a dual
They
major.
actually had it.
That's
they
wild.
actually had it. The next closest school was in upstate New York.
Okay.
I don't remember which one, Ithaca or wherever it was. So anyway, I took J&W. They worked on trimesters, so we went 4 days a week till like 2 or 3 in the afternoon, had Friday off and so forth and so on. So I could work all evenings and weekends in there. But the challenge with that was I also got licensed in both insurance and real estate like the week after I turned 18. And in school, the professors quickly realized I had my licenses. And they'd say, oh, well, Chapter 23 says this, but Phil, how's it really work? And blah, it would be me teaching the class, essentially. So it was an interesting endeavor.
All right, Phil, so you made up your own major. You you studied insurance and real estate, and that's a studied. And then you joined the business day one.
Yep.
Tell me about what you got thrust into right out of the gate when you joined the company.
Just at the exact same time, literally. We bought a little agency down in Providence that George was very friendly with, called the Harold Holton Company. And it wasn't a terribly big agency, but, it was a very old-time agency. Again, like the third story of a building right near the Biltmore Hotel in downtown Providence. If you thought we were old school at that point, man, I think they had the policies etched in stone. I mean, it was very, very old school. But as soon as I graduated, came into the office the next week, and Bump's first task for me was, okay, we're doing 2 things. We're taking on a new insurance company, Transamerica Insurance Company, which we know nothing about, but they're a great company, and learn about all their products. And we're taking on the Holt agency, so I need you to bring in all of the customers from the Holt agency into our system, place it all with Transamerica, and get it all set up. Okay.
No problem. We'll figure that out, right?
Welcome to Monday morning.
And this is what, 1970?
It's 1980.
1980? Okay.
Yeah, because graduated high school 78.
Okay.
And graduate. That was.
Oh, I thought that was before this. So
No.
talk to me about 1978. I know that
78.
was a real pivotal year in our company as well.
It was.
And tell me about the free breakfast that George wanted Hazel to go to.
Oh, the entrepreneurial spirit lives on. And this is where the insurance and real estate thing came to be as well, is that unbeknownst to any of us, literally speaking. Now, again, I'm working in the office every day, not full time. I'm going to school full time, but working in the office every day. Unbeknownst to me, Bump goes to a free breakfast one day.
Did he go to a free breakfast, or did he sign Nana up for a free breakfast?
Oh no, he went.
Okay.
Oh no, he went. And then he came home at night, and you got to remember that.
I can see Bump always wanting a free meal somewhere. Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, anywhere he can
You
get it.
got to remember his routine.
Yeah.
He was at the office by about 8:30 in the morning.
Okay.
He was home. He left the office at 5 o'clock every night. Dinner needed to be on the table at 6 p.m.
Okay.
He was out the door at 7 p.m. He worked Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday evenings. Don't mess with his Wednesday night. Don't mess with his Friday night.
Okay.
And he worked half a day on Saturday. That was his routine. So we all knew that was the routine. Don't get in the way of that.
That's what he does.
That's what it was.
Sure.
So at any rate, he comes home that night, and he says, literally, like it's so matter of fact, at the kitchen table, that we're having dinner, and he says to Nan, he says, oh, by the way, I went to a free breakfast this morning, and I know what you're going to do in the next stage of your career. And Nan said, I didn't know I was looking for something to do in the next stage of my career.
At this point, she was a stay-at-home mom, right?
At this point, she was essentially a stay-at-home mom.
Okay.
But she had risen to a incredible level in a company called the Fuller Brush Company. Backtrack a little bit, and probably 4 or 5 years earlier than that, she took a part-time at-home job in the Fuller Brush Company, and the Fuller Brush sold what you would think of today like Avon-type products. They were literally known for brushes and cleaning supplies and all that kind of stuff. In those days, there was only one model to this sale, and it was knocking on doors. And Nan said to the regional director, who I wish I could remember his name, but I can't, but said, I'm not going to do it that way. And he said, oh, no, that's what we do.
Sounds
Hazel.
like our agent's not wanting a door knock. But
Exactly. He said, that's not what we do. Oops, that's not what we do. We go door knocking, and we give them the catalogs and the whole 9 yards.
No problem.
No, I'm not going to do it that way.
Okay.
And she said, what do you think you can do, Hazel? She said, well, I'm gonna mail the catalogs, and then I'm going to call them by phone and get their orders. Oh, that'll never work. She said, no, it'll work. It'll be fine. And he said, no, that'll never work. He said, give me 6 months. Let me show you it can work. Nan became the top salesperson in Fuller Brush Company. They remodeled their whole marketing campaign after direct mail and telephone solicitation. And to your father and myself, as we were had our driver's licenses, literally she'd get deliveries on like a Wednesday, and in the evenings we'd all be in the basement packaging together. Nick's got one brush, one cleaning thing, one this, one that. Chris has got one brush. And then,
What type of brushes are these? Like cleaning supplies?
no, they were like hair brushes.
Okay.
But they also did cleaning supplies, all kinds of household knickknacks.
Okay.
Full of brush. Google it sometime. You'll be interested in all the stuff they used to sell. But anyway, then Bob and I would go out and we'd deliver them. Because it was mostly all Warwick, which is where we lived. Yeah. And we'd go out and deliver them on the weekend. And we'd make a couple of bucks delivering for her on the weekends.
Nice.
So at any rate, she says, I digress. So let me get back to the point. She says, I was looking for another career. He's like, well, no, now the boys are all graduated school. They're into the agency. I think you need something new to do. Okay. He's like, I went to a breakfast this morning.
Some stones, huh?
Oh yeah, it was a different. it was a different time. He said I went to a free breakfast this morning with a little company called Century 21. And we kind of had heard a little bit about Century 21, but this is 1977.
Yeah, well, George just had his real estate license, so he did a little bit, but certainly this was a big time change.
Big time change.
Yeah.
And it's 1977. Even Century 21 was only founded in like 73 or 4, so it was not in the Northeast at that point. So, you mean the real estate company? So, yeah, the real estate company. these guys are amazing. And he starts talking about the system and the franchising and all the things that are going on.
The gold jacket.
And all the whole 9 yards. So I'm going to go tomorrow and I'm going to give him the check for the first franchise in Rhode Island. And you're going to run it. So I'm going to run it? She said, yeah, you're going to run it. Get your real estate license. It's right up your alley. You'll love this. Being who she was, a true entrepreneur spirit, she climbed on board, and the rest is history. Man, she took Century 21 by storm. Century 21 just relied upon her to set the groundwork here in Rhode Island, and we wound up being the first Century 21 franchise in Rhode Island.
No, that was only by hours or something, right?
Oh, it was by hours.
Now, is that,
God rest his soul. Billy Eccleston, at those days was had an agency called Town Crier.
Okay.
And I love.
Now, did they tell everybody that they're the first in Rhode Island, or was that legitimately the first?
We were legitimately the first.
Okay.
No, we were, but it was literally by hours.
Okay.
But I'll tell you what Billy's classic line was. We used to tease about that between us. And we'd say, we beat you by 2 hours or whatever it was. And Billy said, yeah, you did. He said, but it's a good thing anyway. He said, because the check I gave him would have bounced. But he was a true entrepreneur and a wonderful guy, Billy Eccleston. And Town Crier still knows wife Elaine and his kids. And they're all wonderful, wonderful people.
Perfect. So tell me more about Century 21, Impact Day, and the rollout of that franchise.
Yes, I know you're young, but you weren't there.
We're not that young anymore.
I know, but there's a little date in Rhode Island history of February 6th, 1978. For those of our listeners who don't, February 6th, 1978 was kind of a historic day in Rhode Island. Something called the Great Blizzard of 78 decided to strike that day. Well, that also happened to be the day that Century 21 was going to what they called Impact. They had sold, I think, 20 franchises in the state, 4 of which were in Warwick, but like 20 franchises in the state. And they had spent months laying it out to everybody's going to change their exterior sign on their building that day, the signs on the houses that day. They're all going to start wearing the gold jackets. Business cards are going to arrive. They roll it out to all the agents, the whole 9 yards. One day we're going to make a splash. We're going to have news coverage all over the place. Every major news channel is going to say, Century 21's hit Rhode Island. Except we were uprooted by this blizzard of 78. And it was like, boom, what do we do now?
How long did it take to recover from that?
Well, we dug out for 7 to 10 days.
Oh, wow.
So it was kind of a dull thud. Cool. But it did ultimately, obviously, all come together.
Now, I know Hazel got very involved with Century 21, right?
Very.
So talk a little bit about her experience with the company, kind of the route of going down that road, sure. And kind of just what she was doing with the franchise back then.
God rest her soul. I think the thing that you guys have in your bloodstream, and I always was taught from her, is with Hazel, there was right and wrong, there was black and white, there was never gray, there was never middle of the road. And you always did what was right, and you fought for what was right, no matter what. That rang true in everything she did and everybody she spoke with, everybody she got to know. And the powers that be at Century 21 learned that really, really quick. And they said, they were looking for some leaders to lead the Century 21 Brokers Advisory Council in Rhode Island. So, Hazel, will you do this? Will you take this on? We need you in a leadership role to keep all these brokers on the same page and create uniformity and create a common thread for advertising campaigns and events and all the things that that we did together. And she, of course, took the challenge on. And between her and some of the other true leaders in Century 21 in those days, that's really what kept the local brokers going and on mark. And I can tell you there was the region in those days. I'll tell you a quick little story. The region in those days was owned by a gentleman by the name of Bob Spurdy. And Bob was a very, very flamboyant, outspoken leader that could inspire the paint off the wall. I mean, he just was an exciting gentleman. Spoke kind of broken English. I watched him climb up on tabletops several times, get the crowd going, and really, really fun.
You should do that around the office here.
Yeah, exactly. But he called Hazel after she'd been president of the Brokers Council for a while. And he was like, Hazel, I need you to come to New York and be in a meeting and blah, 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 blah. Hazel was kind of, not crazy about leaving Rhode Island. He's like, I don't know, Bob, I don't really want to do it. And of course, there was no Zoom or anything in those days.
No.
So he said, no, Hazel, I'm going to send a car for you. I'm going to send a limousine. They're going to take you to New York, bring you down here, do the meeting. We'll take you out to dinner. It'll be a wonderful thing. We'll get you back home.
Sounds nice. I'll go.
Yeah, it's a great thing. Until he said, okay, and the car will bring you right off and drop you right here at the World Trade Center. So World Trade Center? He's like, yeah, that's where the corporate office is, the World Trade Center. And I think there were probably one tower or two towers in those days.
Didn't she say this when she got there, based on the way I've heard the story before?
Yeah, exactly.
It was upon arrival, not like
it was upon
before.
arrival, not ahead of time.
Yeah,
it was upon arrival, and she gets there and she says, "The office is there," and he said, "Yeah, we're up here on the 88th floor or whatever it was," and she said, "I'm not coming up there." He's like, "What do you mean you're not coming up here? This is where the meeting is." I don't do 88 floors of elevators. Sorry, dude.
Come
I'll be down here if you need me. Okay. He's like, Hazel, just the elevator will have you up here. It's an express elevator, have you up here in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you'll be here. No. Not happening.
Love it.
Bob Spurdy, the entire leadership team of Century 21, the other brokers from the whole region, all came down to a conference room on the first floor because Hazel wouldn't go up to the 88th floor.
That's funny. She was a strong-willed woman.
She
that's
was
for
a
sure.
strong-willed woman.
I know I've heard stories that Hazel would be willing to help you, especially new agents. I've heard, even in the field, not as much the last few years, but early on in my career, I would still hear from a lot of agents who were saying, outside of our company, I learned so much from Hazel. She was so wonderful to me and helped walk me through these transactions. Yep. But from what I was told is she would take you to the mat if you were wrong on something.
Didn't matter who you were.
Did not matter who you were. In office, out of office. No. Yeah.
I heard her more than once in my youth in this business call another agent from another company to the man and say, you are not doing that with my agent, or you're not doing that with my buyer or my seller under any circumstances. And they knew she was all business.
Oh, yeah. That's fantastic.
Yep.
Talk to me a little bit more about the community involvement, Phil, and kind of what your philosophies and aspirations were from that standpoint, specifically late 80s, 90s, things along those lines.
Sure. I think, again, it really goes back to being the insurance guy, if you will, that it was all about the client and community. And Bump was very involved in the Rotary and the Chamber and those kinds of things as well, that it was a natural handoff, if you will. But I think it's inherent in us as small business people that we understand we only exist due to the gracious support of the community, who ultimately says they need our help with insurance or real estate services. And without that, we're not here.
We have nothing.
We have no reason to be here. So, we've always been very committed to giving back in whatever ways we could. And that came very naturally for me. I enjoy people. I love to be around people. I get caught up in a good cause real easily, and I want to do whatever I can, whether it be for the seniors, or whether it be for the kids, or whether it be for nonprofits, or whatever it may be, to be as supportive as I possibly can be. And in my career, I should backdate that to say, just to touch it, that Bob and I early on in our careers kind of talked together and decided, listen, there are two really important elements to our success. One is our relationship with the community. Two is our relationship with our industry. And Bob's had already kind of been recruited and pulled into the insurance industry side of the whole thing. IRE and the PIA of New England and the National Association. So it was a logical and easy path for him. As I said, he was an insurance expert by far. So it was very easy for him to continue down that path and keep our relationships there super strong. On that light, I took the community side, and between the Rotary, the Chambers of Commerce, all the nonprofits I've ever served on, all the different areas that I've ever volunteered my time on, it's, I think, kept us pretty well connected. And I think, you can't go too many places in this immediate community, but in this state for that matter, that most people don't know the name Slocum. And thank God, I think pretty highly of it, and know that we're very focused on that. We're focused on taking care and saying thank you.
What are some of the efforts or charities that you've been involved in over your career that have spoken to you the most?
I would have to say, there's numerous Boys and Girls Club and Rotary Club, which supports lots of different foundations and organizations. Certainly the Chamber of Commerce, because they really are so committed to helping the small business community at large. But the one that probably the one that has really struck home to me, and it's kind of ironic because I didn't have any particular connection at the time, is what's now known as St. Elizabeth's Community. And prior to that, it was Cornerstone Adult Services. And I first got involved in that simply because a Rotary Club member, a friend, said, Phil, I really need some board members. I need you to come and serve on the board. And that was at Cornerstone Adult Services. And I looked at her and I said, Roberta, I'll do it because it's you. But adult daycare and adult services, I mean, I don't have any knowledge of it. I don't understand it. I don't know it. But if you need me to, I will. And the more I was there and the more I saw what they did every day, and then ultimately how it evolved into St. Elizabeth Community and all the different pieces that they do, the more I realized how valuable and how important the service was. And I'll tell you one quick little story, and that is that I used to tell this story all the time at the holiday parties at Cornerstone. And it's the day I think the light bulb went off. Lauren and I, my wife, and I were at Stop and Shop late one night doing grocery shopping when Stop and Shop was a 24-hour place. And it was a nuts event when you went late at night. The guys were filling the shelves and they're throwing cans down the aisle and the music's playing loud.
You used to do that a lot, I think. Right?
Exactly,
Yeah.
We did.
You guys got a kick out of that.
Yeah, we did, and it was really hot. It was a really hot time. It was a good time. But we're there one night doing exactly that, and this woman comes up to me in one of the aisles, and I can tell she's got her eyes locked on me, and it's kind of awkward.
Because of how handsome you were, right?
Well, that could have been one of the reasons, but I
Slocum,
didn't go with that.
Gift and a curse, I guess you could say.
I guess.
Yeah.
So I could tell there's something really, something about her that what was going on. And she finally came up to me and she said, "You're him. You're the guy." And Lauren's kind of over my shoulder, and I looked at her.
She's like, "What guy?"
Exactly. I looked at her and said, "Geez, I'm sorry. Do I know you?" She said, "You're him. You're the guy." I said, "I'm sorry. What do you mean I'm the guy?" And she said, the guy at Cornerstone." I said, oh yeah, I'm president of that board. She said, "You're the guy who takes care of my mother. And I can't tell you how important it is to me." She said, "Let me tell you a little story." I said, "Well, it's not me who takes care of your mom. It's the great staff. But tell me a story." And she said, "Well, my mom is suffering from dementia. And we've had her at home. We're fighting to have her at home. And it's been day and night. It's 24/7. And it got to the point where I had to quit my job. And because I had to quit my job, the financial side's become very, very difficult. And literally, we're at a place where my husband and I were going to lose our house. And I don't know where we're going to go with our 2 kids, never mind my mother, until we found Cornerstone. And now we can take her to Cornerstone during the day. I can go to work with the peace of mind of knowing she's safe, she's cared for, she's in good shape. I can pick her up at night, take care of her at home with a good, clear mind, and know that we're all going to be okay. You helped save my house. You helped save my family. You're the guy."
That's amazing.
And I mean, my heart just poured onto the floor.
I can imagine melted right there.
Heart poured onto the floor. And I used to tell this story all the time to the staff at Cornerstone. And I reiterate to her again, I'm not the guy, I'm the guy on the board. It's this staff that does it for you. And I told that story because it was so important they understand, and they do, the impact that they make
The
on
difference,
people.
yeah. That's fantastic. All right, so Phil, let's move along to one topic I want to hit on before Chris and I come and just absolutely
Dominate.
Yeah, that's not quite where I was going, but that's we'll take it. So, talk to me about the transition, mainly because I want it on video for future reference.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
talk to me about the transition between first and second generation. you and Bob taking ownership of the company, how that all went down.
Yeah. I think, Nick, as you guys probably attest to, you're probably experiencing today, transition generationally is a challenge.
No, it's super easy.
No, it is. Even with the best of intent, even with the most passionate and loving people in the world, it's always a challenge. And I often say of both of you, I am so proud of the two of you. What an amazing real estate professional you've become, a leader in the industry. What an amazing insurance professional you've become, Chris, and a leader in the industry. And had you guys not come down this path, I'd have, at this point or before, hung the shingle up and said, I'm out.
So you can still hang the shingle up anytime.
But yeah, no,
I'm just kidding.
And I know you're anxious for me to do that. And I think, and I always say that I'm so thrilled it evolved this way because you guys have breathed, is that a right word? Breathed a whole new sense of life into the agency with a whole new vision and a whole new direction.
We'll get there, but let's go back to
I know. I'm getting to that point. I'm
Okay.
getting to that point. So that's the challenge. But it was the challenge with Bump and us too.
Yeah.
Bump was the old file folders. Okay. When Bob and I were at that point of starting to talk about transition, computers were just happening. Oof. They were single disc floppy drives. We were one of the first ones around to have a dual disc floppy drive. Forget about multiple screens. Those didn't exist. We had one of the first fax machines around. The whole office. We plugged that thing in. We put a piece of paper in. We dialed the number. We hit the button. It went off.
Technology, man.
Right. The whole office, 6 or 8 of us are standing around this machine. We looked at each other and said, do you believe that's there already?
I still remember the dot matrix
God.
paper. Speaking about memories when we were kids, I remember coming in here and seeing like the dot matrix
Ripping
paper.
all the stuff off the side of it.
Typewriters, you rip it off the side. Oh,
Absolutely.
yeah, it's crazy.
So my point in all
I think
that,
the listing contracts were still like that, like right before
They
we joined
were.
the company. Yeah.
Yeah. So
The yellow film on the back.
Oh boy, the yellow and pink, so everyone got a copy.
Yeah.
So speaking of all that, in the transition, I think, Bump had the good fortune, as I do, to have the presence of mind and knowing that between Bob and I, he was in a great position to take this agency on to the next level. And I would say his last 10 years of his career was evolved comfortably handing the agency off in the industry's eyes, letting the insurance leaders know, hey, Bob and Phil are in charge of this, and they got it. Letting the real estate leaders know, hey, Bob and Phil are in charge of this, and they got it. And in addition, being around to bring historic perspective into the whole thing. But he would also, if he was sitting here today, would tell you, but he was ready to step aside from the standpoint of, even in those days, technology and the new way of doing things. Oh my God, it used to drive him nuts. So he spent the last 10 years very much in a supportive role, very much planning his retirement. I mean, literally.
He was
every
good at
day,
that from what I heard.
Planning his retirement. He had the numbers done in every which way. I got books of the
Good for
numbers. It's crazy.
He had the budget down to go to Foxwoods every other day with
Absolutely.
Nana. Yeah.
That was retirement.
Hit up those
He had
slot
them figured out.
machines. Oh, yeah.
Oh, he had
I
them
heard.
figured out.
Yeah.
Oh, I got stories about that. That's a whole different podcast.
We'll get to there afterwards. Christopher's on a time crunch, though.
I
so
know, he is.
What's your biggest frustration that you recall between the transition from Gen 1 to Gen 2?
I guess I would say the biggest frustration was, I'm going to say lovingly, and you guys probably feel the same way, dragging them along. And I don't mean that.
I don't feel like that.
I don't mean that insultingly by any
That you
means.
know of anyway.
What I mean, exactly. what I mean by that is dragging them along from the perspective of he believed totally where we were going, what we were doing, technology, structures, systems, the whole 9 yards. But it really drove him nuts. It really, really drove him nuts. And we used to regularly have to reassure him, Dad, this is going to be okay.
Yeah.
This is the right thing. It's going to be okay.
Okay.
So and it was.
So you guys get through that. You have a successful
Transition.
transition into the second generation. lo and behold, Chris and I got to come and screw it up for you.
No. You gave it all new blood, all new life.
Technically speaking, I think the third generation usually does screw it up, right?
Historically, it's not a great trend, but
No
yes.
pressure.
All right. We're not into following the trends. So we usually set the trends.
You're trendsetters.
We like being charting our own path, so to speak.
right.
So, tell me about a little bit what you and Bob had for discussions and what you felt when Chris and I came in.
I think
2005, 6, 7,
I
somewhere
think,
in that range.
we were both very committed to putting you in positions to win and enabling the office to evolve around you and support you in your visions and your goals. But I will say we were also very much uniform in our position of there were going to be no free rides. Nobody rode for free. And what I mean by that is third generation wasn't going to come in and just be, your daddy's kid. No, if you're going to do this, you're going to earn the respect, you're going to earn the admiration, and you're going to earn your position, and you both have. So that was kind of a uniform decision from the start, that there was no favoritism, and there was no free ride.
I'm very thankful for that personally. I know, I'm sure even to this day, people look at some of our success or whatever and say, "Oh, you're a Slocum. You had it handed down from your parents, whatever it might be." But
let me put it on record right now. I ain't handing nothing down.
Absolutely,
you buying my butt out of this thing when the day comes, and that's the way it is.
But not only that, I look to like the real estate specifically because that's mainly where
that's right.
Not my only focus, but where the vast majority of my time specifically goes to. And it's like, what is he handing down? The people that he sold houses to are dead for the most part. I'm just kidding.
Well, it's at least it's St. Elizabeth.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. No, but I mean, we're in a commission-based business, so you got to get up on the first every month with zero guaranteed income and figure out a way to generate a client. So, certainly, is it? Have I had an advantage? Probably. I certainly don't think it hurt by any stretch, but I do think that I know I personally felt like I had to work even harder to kind of avoid that conception that's out in the
I
marketplace.
would agree with that.
So I know it's always been in the back of my mind anyway.
Yeah, you always get it. It almost doesn't matter how hard you try. Someone's still gonna try to throw it at us sideways somewhere. Sure. But it's more about internal here that we know we've done what we can. And we've worked as hard as we have to get to where we are.
I think if I could, I think the thing you guys got is the same thing I got from Bump, in that as far as single biggest advantage is reputation.
Sure.
He worked to build a reputation in the community.
Yeah.
I climbed aboard on that coat train.
Absolutely.
And yes, I built my own too.
And you can either improve upon it or you can ruin it.
Exactly. Bingo bango.
Yep.
Right there.
Yep.
And we built upon it. And I think that's the same gift I give to you guys is reputation. And you could have either ruined it or you built upon it, and you chose to do the same thing.
What's the old saying about reputation? Takes forever.
It takes forever to build, but just a second to destroy.
Absolutely.
So you guys have done the right thing, but that's the gift. That's the gift that you don't have if you started a business today. You don't have that reputation yet, but we got a 75-year reputation that, again, I think a lot of people in this state know who we are.
So, Chris, tell me about your early days. You had a whole year head start on me. What did they have you doing? I remember you were working in Doris quite a bit when I came into the company.
Doris was a database management system, just so we know.
So the first thing that they had me doing when I started in the office, I was running rates consistently. I was running every single quote with every single carrier for every single remarket, which is when we take a look at policy and say. She does do that at the moment. Yes, that's correct. But no, it was one of those things
She
where
does so much more than that.
Yeah, well, she also does it better than I ever did. That's for sure. I have no argument for that.
Yeah, she's the better half. That's for sure.
That is for sure. I can't argue.
Yeah, he married up.
I'm a lucky guy. But no, I literally, it was thrust upon me to get me comfortable in rating and learning about what the coverages were and learning about why they were important on every single policy. And I would go through, and that's pretty much what I spent the vast majority of my time doing right when I got in. I got my license. I started doing that. And I went back to school and they had me sending out mailers from school
remember
for
that.
the old Main Street America contractors.
You used to be
mailer.
able to rate those things so easily. It was a simple worksheet basically where you could look at their receipts, their class of business, right, and basically
Bang.
bada bing, bada boom, you had a rate, right?
And it almost always hit with Main Street America. That was the one thing they did really, really well.
For sure.
But yeah, I'd send those mailings every month from school, and then during the winter or summer, depending on when it worked out right, I'd get whatever the next license was. I started with PNC, then I got life and health and real estate. My last I think summer before we came out and started full time in 2007. So that's where I started, was doing all the remarkets that I could while I was in the basement, which at the time had not been refinished. It was more like a storage area with boxes around me at a little desk. So that was the beginning, though.
That was an interesting time down in the basement. Not only when it was just us, but then as others came to join us down there, whether it was Mark or JT.
Yeah.
That's where JT got broken in down
That's
there.
right.
That's why he's so well-rounded these days, you know?
Absolutely.
I thought we were going to break him in other ways down there, that's for sure. But so
I'm not
Chris,
sure you didn't.
No, yeah, who knows? Chris, tell me more about some of the greatest lessons that were passed down to you by the second generation, or even anyone in the office, Bobby D, Carol, kind of the generation before us.
Yeah, you know, the big thing to me, and it's kind of how we do things in our office, it's our mantra. It's, as you put it, the client comes first. No matter what it is, no matter what someone's calling about, there's a story to it. There's a reason for it. What our job is help them through for whatever it is. It doesn't matter what the problem that's at hand is. We're here. We're trying to help them get to the other side. We're giving them a service that they could get anywhere else, but they get it from us for a reason. You know, it's to have that empathy and that care for our clients. That, you know, to me, that's the biggest thing that I've taken away from literally everybody. Dad, Phil, you know, Nan and Bump back then, and that's my take. That's the one big thing that I've taken away is take the time, listen, and do your best to help.
That kind of leads into our actual mantra that was identified through our rebrand when we worked with the amazing company, 1000 Watt. When we went through that in 2020, we went through hours upon hours of interviews with Mark Davison and his amazing team at 1000 Watt. And at one point, in a situation just like this, where we're talking and telling them the backstory of our company, somehow Phil stumbled upon a few words that really resonated with Mark at the time. And he actually, I think if I recall correctly, was like, hey, stop. What did you just say there?
Yeah, I think you
And
did.
it kind of became our mantra, our actual mantra moving forward
Right.
of every home is someone's castle.
That's right.
And now that works on both the real estate and the insurance side. But do either one of you guys want to touch upon what every home is someone's castle means to you?
Well, I can tell you that I can tell you the story. And the story was one of our agents, Terry, was listing a mobile home out in West Greenwich. And we have a staff, photographer, and
It's a multimedia specialist.
in those days it was just a photographer.
Okay.
But today we have a multimedia specialist, Mr. Nate Walker.
He does.
Who's a
Nathan
killer.
David Walker is his actual.
I'm sorry, Nathan David Walker,
Producer
star
name.
of stage and
Yes.
screen behind the curtain.
He's amazing.
Okay, so anyway, so in those days, I'm sliding out of my office, going across the main area in the other room, and Terry says, "Oh, Phil, by the way, I'm going to be listing a mobile home out in West Greenwich. I think it was like 39.9 or something like that. And do you really want to send so and so out to take photos, or do you want me just to take them with my iPhone?" And I stopped dead in my tracks, and I looked at her and said, "T, every home is someone's castle. It's that man's castle."
Or
And
woman.
Or woman. And she looked at me and shook her head and said,
My girl dad.
"How did I know you were going to say that?" And it's because that's the way it is. I don't care whether it's $1 million house or a $29 mobile home. That's where they put their head on the pillow at night. That's where they bring their family home to. That's where they have dinner around the table. That's where they work out the biggest problems and challenges in life, and they feel the safest and most secure in life.
And it's not just on the real estate side.
No.
Chris, talk to me about every home is someone's castle on the insurance side.
Well, you know, I mean, I could be looking at a policy for somebody, and could be, as Phil put it, you know, it could be a 1,000-foot ranch, just over here in Buttonwoods, or it could be a $1.5 million house over in Coesit. Truthfully, we look at those through the same lens. It's just as important for that person in the 1,000 square foot ranch over in Buttonwoods as it is for the McMansion over in Coesit, that, they have the right coverage when the time comes. And they depend on us to do the right thing for them. I mean, that's really what it means to me is we're taking action for them, making sure that if the worst ever happens, we're going to be right there to help them, and they have the right coverage in place for them. That's really what we're here for.
I love it. I know you guys have been at fires in the middle of the night, out there right at the scene of the loss when the worst possible scenarios strike for these clients of ours, and having that support, I think, really says a lot. So, any color or context on that?
I was going to say almost exactly that, Nick.
Yeah.
I've typically been the one who gets that middle of the night phone call, and I countless times, Christmas Eve, New Year's Eve, Thanksgiving Day, whatever it may be, I've been out at fires. I've been out at pipe breaks where the house is entirely destroyed and flooded. I've been out at serious motor vehicle accidents where they call me from the scene, whatever it may be. And I've physically been there. And to see these folks who have suffered such immediate and obvious devastation in their lives, and the relief in their eye when I'm able to look at them and say, you're going to be okay because we've got ABC Company on this. And you've got a great policy, you've got great coverage, and they're going to take care of it. And to see the relief in their eye and be like, all right, so I know I'm going to be all right, is just all the reward in the world.
I love that. It's touching. Really is.
It means a lot.
No, it's the most important thing that we are able to provide, in my opinion, on the insurance side of our business.
We sell a piece of paper.
That's it. And
sell a piece of paper that says, hey, we promise. Well, let's step up.
Yeah, for sure. I love that. Chris, as a third generation leader in the company now, close to 20 years. 20 years. Can you believe that?
Time flies when you're having fun.
That's for sure. What are some of the pivotal changes or initiatives that you've introduced, spearheaded, and grown with? And how did that technology and modern marketing kind of play into everything?
Yeah, for me, it's really bringing the technology in about the agency management system, being able to get in touch with clients the way they want to get in touch with us, be it through phone call, as I think personally is something that's very important, is to be able to pick up the phone and talk to a client. You get the best understanding of what they're struggling with at that moment, but also email, text message, however anyone's looking to get in touch.
Carrier pigeon.
Yeah, carrier pigeon if they would like
Some
to.
of them.
Yeah, again, we do mail out enough USPS mail that may or may not get there. But anyway, setting up easy links, the agency management system, being able to communicate through text message, email, whatever it is that the clients want. Beyond that, implementation of virtual files and
Some social media activity.
Yep. Those are really the big ticket items at the moment. Video is also helpful. I look at Nathan David Walker over there, who encourages me to do some minor dabbling in video, which I should do more of.
Slocumisms. Those were fantastic. You got to bring those back.
Yeah, we'll have to get back into those.
For sure.
But yeah, making a better presence online for us on the insurance side is probably one of the things that I'm looking forward to doing a little bit more of, actually.
Cool, because I know you're on a time crunch and have to go to the doctor. I'm going to let you give a couple of final thoughts. Then Phil and I, we can keep jamming over here if you want to. So Chris, talk to me about where we're at now, where you think the agency's going, just your initial thoughts and visions for the future.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you, I think from my end, what I'd like to see is, reestablish a foundation, just internal staff wise, building a more bolstered sales team, put ourselves in a position where, we can write in Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island right now. I'd much prefer to be in a position to be able to sell in a more regional type of situation. New England, outside of New England, With the digital era being what it is,
Taking it global. I love it.
I think we
Let's
can go
go.
much bigger than just here in Rhode Island. So that's my
This
take.
is where the old man starts planning his retirement.
I love it. Cool. Well, thank you very much for your time, Chris. Any final thoughts that you want to share with our audience?
I just, say thank you to our clients, family, friends, everybody that's out there supports us. Truly appreciate it. As Phil said before, we wouldn't be here without you. So thank you.
That's awesome. So
Bang.
I know I
Mic
have
drop.
a mic drop right there.
Mic drop right there.
I know I have a little goal of making it to 100 and then just mic dropping it and walking out the door. So I'm not sure what your plan is, but I'm looking forward to the next 25 years and letting you make that call at that time yourself. But
Well, hopefully it's not just a mic drop on that day and we leave someone with whatever it is at the time. Hopefully we're in a position
No,
we've
much
built
better.
to a place where whoever it is able to do the same as we're doing, which is work into it and,
can you believe we basically double our career a little bit longer and we're right at 100 years? That's
tell
absolutely
you.
insane.
Nuts.
it's crazy.
It is wild.
It is nuts.
Hopefully we can make it there.
You can make it.
I'm more worried
No,
about,
hopefully.
lately I've been feeling very old with all of my medical issues going on and whatnot. I don't know, 25 years seems like a long time. But anyway, Chris, thank you for your time.
Thank
if
you,
you
guys.
wouldn't mind on your way out telling John I am serious, we need him to come and pinch hit and be the closer. We can get a couple of final thoughts from him too and go from there.
I will.
like
I'll
that.
let them know.
Thanks, Christopher.
Thank you,
Like
guys.
that. We're gonna.
Well,
Right
we've
now.
got a great evolution here, ladies and gentlemen. We have our host, my co-host, one of my favorite people in the entire world, one of my very best friends. If I had one hand of my favorite people in the entire world, he would be on that, 5-person list. He's just an amazing individual. I'm so glad he was able to join us today
The
to
other
bring
s-
it home. Actually,
the other son I never had.
the other son.
The other son I never had.
I love that. Well, once upon a time, we did a Meet the Team video, and his nickname was the closer.
It
So
was.
he's coming in to close this podcast right
got
now
it.
and
I
help
got
us
it.
bring it home.
But before he closes the podcast, okay, John, I know you just came into the equation, but Nick had just asked Chris of what he has done in the insurance side of the house to kind of bring it to the next generation and bring it through to the next level and where they see it going from here.
Before we dive into where I think you're going, can you
Okay.
believe you didn't even mention my amazing online quote sheet that I developed for
Wow,
the insurance
you're right,
side?
you didn't.
I know. I feel
And that-
hurt deep down about
Wow.
that. Didn't even go there. It
All
was
right.
unbelievable.
But let me jump in for Chris.
Yep.
And in addition, one of the things we've done in the insurance house is Nick developed this incognito form quote sheet that has revolutionized our ability to gather information necessary to give people accurate quotes.
You're welcome.
Unbelievable.
Thank you. All right, John, I think where Phil is going now was to talk more about where the real estate has evolved, where
Absolutely.
it's heading. And, you've got a wonderful perspective and context that you can bring to this discussion. You've been with us for how long now?
13 years.
That's fantastic. And how has the
David,
business
13
changed?
best years of your life, right?
What was the over under on how many compliments you could try to squeeze into like 5 minutes here?
Somebody's very. We thought last week on the podcast he was salty. He's taking it to a new level.
Well, it's just
Salty today. Okay. All right.
All right,
So
let's pull it together.
you were how old when you got into the real estate business?
21.
21. Talk to me about the evolution of when you went to the business in 21, and in theory, Phil was still kind of running the show. Into where
That's what he thought anyway.
It's what I thought anyway. Into
Then or
where-
now?
Then.
Okay.
And to where you and Nick and your new visions and your new energy and your new commitment to everything. Tell me, guys, what you see about our current real estate department and where it's going.
Well, in all fairness, you were still running the show 13 years ago.
13, I was, yeah, in theory.
He didn't start talking about the senior home until a few years ago.
Well, that's true. Thank you.
So you were running the show 13 years ago.
You and I used to do a lot of open houses.
You
together.
still are. We did. We had a lot of time together
Oh, we
because
did.
open
Spent a lot
houses
of
weren't
time.
busy like
Can you
they
go a
are
little
today.
closer to the microphone, please?
Wow.
All right, continue on.
We did. We did a lot of open houses
We
together.
did a lot, and we had a lot of bonding time because open houses weren't packed like they are today.
You know what I miss was the fireside chats with Phil and JT. How many episodes of that did
We
you do?
did. We did this. Remember
The
this?
Greenwich Ave fireside chats.
I think we filmed an intro. We may have filmed an
Might have
intro.
done one. Maybe.
One of them.
I think it was just an intro.
Yeah. Could have been.
So I know we talked in the past on this podcast about how we found John as a missed encounter, casual encounters.
No,
on
you make
Craigslist.
that part up.
Oh, it was on Craigslist. Though.
It was on Craigslist.
It
you
was,
you
yeah.
make up the missed connections part.
It's a good story.
You know
though.
the thing about John is, and again, I don't want to divert too far here, but the thing about John is I always say when I'm describing John, I've never met anybody with more of a I refuse to give up mentality than John Tatro had in the early days of his career.
Kind of aligns with the fire in the belly,
In the fire
entrepreneurial
in the
spirit
belly.
from George Slocum, huh?
And where this whole thing has evolved from and going to. This guy has it.
He does.
Which is why he's co-host of the SHT podcast.
Please, if you're going to give a title to the podcast, make sure we get it right. It is Shootin' the SHT, real banter with Nick and JT of the Slocum home team.
Right.
And if you want to give a little ad read to
right.
Polar, it is refreshingly natural. Polar premium seltzer, naturally calorie free, cranberry lime, refreshingly natural, family owned since 1882. Tell me, John, about your impressions of the company as a young buck off of Craigslist up until an old salty individual now here in 2024.
Old salty.
Oh, gee, where do I begin with that?
I mean, let's hear it. Lay it on the table.
In the beginning.
When I first started, it was a different world. We still signed purchase and sales agreements by hand, and then took that in the deposit check and went to deliver it. Nowadays, everything's just flying around with these signatures. Used to sign those purchase and sales in a conference room with wonderful blue wood paneling. So it was a different world over there.
That was John Morgan who painted that
He
room.
painted that room. I know.
We never even talked about moving to Greenwich Avenue in the initial.
You
plan.
can't put him on blast. He's not even here to defend himself.
I'm just saying. We asked him to paint it. It was just.
It was blue.
It was blue
It was
paneling.
blue wood
It
paneling.
was blue wood banner.
Okay.
Now to the new world here. A little more space. Cutting edge technology.
Company has changed quite a bit. over
Has
that
changed
time
quite a
frame.
bit, yeah.
So we never got to Grand Job. When did you move to Grand Job, Phil?
I would say it was late 70s.
Okay.
76, 77. I think Bumpwalk Ground Ave.
Okay.
And actually, that was a builder's model home
Mm-hmm.
that he had the vision for and could see how we could adapt it. And then we put an addition on it and the whole bit. But
Love
it was the late 70s.
And we were in that office from the late 70s until about, what, 2017?
I would say it was about 8 years ago
2018,
now.
yeah.
So about 8 years ago now. So
Okay.
about 16, 17.
It's where John's career started. It's where my career started. A lot of great memories in that office.
Team started in that
Down in
basement.
the
The
basement.
team started in the basement. The team moved to the second floor of the Chamber of Commerce building because we ran out of space at Greenwich Avenue.
That's right.
But let's take it back to the early days of Greenwich Avenue. For us, anyway, John, not your early days of Greenwich Avenue. What were some of your initial memories of the basement? We talked to Christopher about this a little bit.
You want to talk about the driving and getting in and out of the parking lot? Oh, no. We'll go.
I mean, we could. I only ruined one. Well, if you combine the two of us, we ruined two cars.
Yeah, right.
Two accidents.
Pulling in and out of that
parking
parking
That was
lot.
a
Yeah.
tough spot.
Yeah. I missed that car. But anyways,
What was that, an X3?
no, there's a 325.
Oh, I thought you had
I got the X3 to replace it. I didn't total that pulling out of the parking lot though. I was with Phil in his car when we were waiting to pull in when he totaled his Escape.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got rear-ended.
So basically, just keep me out of cars going in and out of that parking lot.
That was a bad spot.
But the basement. I mean, what do you really want to get into on a podcast about that basement?
I mean, let's keep it PG.
Okay.
If the walls could talk.
If the walls could talk, there were some smells in that basement for sure. And I unfortunately had to cross between the office doors of two Slocums to get basically anywhere in and out of that basement to get to the printer to leave. It was a good time. There was a lot of bonding with you and
The
Chris.
closer just came in and gave up a 3-run homer to lose the game.
There's a lot of good bonding time in that basement. That was where it was kind of like the boys' club.
It was.
You, Chris, and I were down there. Terry
joined
would come
us
in
at
from
one
time to
point.
time.
I can tell you that when you guys were down in the basement, I don't know, probably your second year.
It was hot down there.
Probably your second year in, maybe something in that range. Nick and I went out to lunch one day at Dave's Bar and Grill. It was just the two of us. And it was about the time, and correct me on the time frame, but it's about the time you were really on him to start the team. Okay. And we're out to lunch at Dave's Bar and Grill, and he's saying to me, boy, John really wants to get going with a team, and I know he's right because I got more business than I can handle, and he certainly, could do it, and no question about it.
trust
but
him. I don't trust
I trust
many
him.
people.
I
Yeah.
believe in him. But, I need to break him out of his shell a little bit more. He's a little bit reserved. I need to break him out of his shell a little bit more. Is it okay, Dad? Speaking to me, is it okay if I kind of, push around a little bit, rough him up a little bit, kind of build that strength and that power?
Mission accomplished.
I looked at him and I said, "Listen, Nick, it's okay, but go easy, please. He's a nice guy. Don't rough him up. Don't hurt him. Just go easy, please."
He didn't listen.
Look at we got today. I would say he
did not.
accomplished his goal.
He accomplished his goal. He did not take your advice. He didn't go easy.
No.
And I don't know that I'm so much of a nice guy anymore.
No, you've certainly done a 180 on that front. I'm just kidding. You're a super nice guy.
Thank God you are a nice guy.
John, as one of the leaders of the third generation here in our company, what are some of the pivotal changes and innovations you feel we've made over the years?
From the team?
Anything.
Or going
Just
forward?
bring it,
Could be
you know?
just the team
Yeah.
as one example.
Yeah. Tell me about the evolution of the team. You were kind of all over me to start this team. I was apprehensive. I didn't want to do it at first.
Yeah.
You definitely wouldn't take no for an answer.
Nope.
You were a little rabid pit bull, kind of just.
He means that in the nicest way,
Sure.
though.
Yeah, he usually does.
Yeah.
I mean, I could have said Chihuahua. I said pit bull.
Who doesn't love a rabid pit bull?
Yeah. Yeah. You always try to bend over, give him a hug,
Oh, yeah.
play fetch with him, I would say that was a big evolution, starting the team, getting you to buy into the team model that is popular nowadays.
Wasn't as popular back then, 2015. This is all going
It wasn't.
down.
I'd say we were ahead of the curve then.
I would say they didn't even think about teams the way you guys thought about them.
Some did, but few.
Some did, but not
few
a
and
lot.
far between. Most of the teams back then were like husband-wife teams, small teams, just agents kind of putting their sales numbers together. We took it in a little bit different of a direction from a service model standpoint.
What I usually say is it was 2 or 3 weak agents coming together trying to make a strong agent when that's not a team, not by your model.
The reasoning was to provide better service to all of the clients.
Which goes back hand in hand with everything that we were hoping to provide to our clients from day one over 75 years.
Yeah.
But the next evolution, I would say, and interestingly enough, goes back to him talking about, putting in a home, which I'm against, by the way.
Okay.
Was talking about how he eventually wants to run the whole office as a team. And you said, I want to be a part of that. Why are we waiting?
Right.
So we turned the whole office into a teamerage about a year and a half ago.
It's crazy. Almost coming up on 2 years
It's
now.
unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
It's been a great move, though, I believe.
Oh, absolutely. And we'd gotten to the point where we had your team, operating one portion of the office, for lack of a better visual, and the rest of the office operating. And so many of the other agents were saying to me, boy, look at that. I wish I had that, whatever that was, whether it was a marketing effort or a program you were using or a presentation you had created or whatever it was. Oh, look at that. I wish I had that. Oh, I wish I had that. So when you made that comment to me that day about operating the whole office on that same platform, it just made all the sense in the world. And it's like, yeah, what are we waiting for? Give all the bullets to all the warriors and let them all go to battle.
I would say from my perspective, I would say the insurance side of the operation has been pretty consistent over the years.
Well, it has that great quote sheet now.
Thank you, sir. But slow, steady growth. I mean, we've never had big, increases or decreases in staffing, employment, things along those lines that I've experienced anyway.
Which is historic with insurance.
Absolutely. But I would say the real estate side, to bring it back even further, has been quite volatile.
Oh, yeah.
Volatile. Yeah. Either way works. Thanks.
I think there were 6 of us when I started.
Yeah, no, but that was my point. Was I was going to ask Phil to give us some context about how the real estate division evolved from 1978 through, I'll even say 1949
Sure.
through modern day.
Well, I would say you're certainly going back to 1949 and 50s and 60s.
It was just a
It
bump.
was really just bump.
Yep.
It was really just bump. I think he might have had one other insurance producer who had a real estate license but didn't do anything. But in 1977, impacting in 1978, when we went to Century 21, of course, one of their core elements was to recruit and was to build a sales team. And, they had countless training methods to try and teach us how to do that. And, we were gold jacket to the bone. We looked, breathed,
Bought in, hook, line, and sinker.
every minute of it, every ounce of it. And I don't regret any of that. It was the best thing ever. And so we recruited. And, we had peaks and valleys, agents that came, agents that stayed, all that kind of stuff. And I can remember there was one time, and I probably might be remiss in my timing, but I think it was mid-'80s.
Yeah, I think it was late 80s, early 90s maybe.
Yeah. Interest rates were really high. Market was really tough.
How many agents did you have at the time?
We had about 25 agents.
Okay.
Market was really tough. And it was tough for everybody. And we had a group of agents in the office that were all in a tight personal pod. They played a lot of golf together. They did a lot of things together. They that kind of thing. And that was great. That was terrific. That's how it all came to be. But anyway, it got to the point where it was just a great place to hang around, and everything became our fault. The coffee was too cold. The donuts were too stale. Water wasn't hot enough.
You guys gave out donuts back then?
Exactly.
Bring that back.
Still waiting for the cold brew.
Exactly.
We do need to get a cold brew machine.
We do. Everything was our fault. And Nan was frustrated as hell. I was frustrated as hell. So we literally called everybody into the conference room in those days, that lower office, the back, what it was the bedroom in the apartment, squeezed everybody in there. I said, do me a favor? And they said, what? I said, put your keys on the table. Everybody looked at me with two heads. No, seriously, put your keys on the table. Everybody reached in, put the office key on the table. I said, thank you for all your service. I wish you the best of luck. Please let me know where you would like me to forward your license, or if I should send it back to the state. We're going to go off in a different direction.
It's hardcore.
That's why I always joke around. Like whenever we do a little private meeting, like please put your keys on the table, yada yada.
I've brought them before.
I know.
I don't have my keys on me now, but I brought them
Maybe
before.
you should with this attitude that you brought into this room.
And then from that moment forward, we shook it down to about 3 or 4 agents.
Yeah.
The core people. The JTs of the world. Mm-hmm. Core people we knew we could rely upon, we could always be part of. They were quasi-family.
JT wasn't born yet.
No, I know. I'm just saying that type of person.
4 more years.
Quasi-family. And we said, obviously, guys, we want you to be part of this going forward. Mm-hmm. But we couldn't deal with, oh, poor me, and all the excuses of why they weren't able to be successful.
And then you operated kind of with that small, tight-knit group for a long time,
years,
right?
years.
Until I got into the business, I believe.
Did a lot of business.
Yeah.
Because Nan was committed to it. Pat Lally was committed to it. Ruthie was committed to it. Bobby Deeg was committed to it. I was committed to it. We had a group of 5, 6, 7 people who were all in.
Yep.
Who were all in.
No one was dabbling.
On the core values, on the philosophies, on the commitment, and on not looking for excuses, looking for ways to serve the customer the best. And it was actually a terrific time for the agency. Again, not exactly Century 21's model of you got to have a big house, but it was a good value for the agency.
And then I came along.
Then you came along.
Screwed it all up.
No, not at all. Gave it a whole new life.
So tell me about your perspective when we came in, specifically on the real estate side. Now, I know we talked a little bit more about insurance a little while ago, but kind of came in with a renewed focus on different ways to do things, growing the agency a little bit. Obviously, we're not the biggest house around, the biggest brokerage by any stretch, but how's that evolved in your eyes?
Well, I think, first of all, hats off to both of you guys. But, you came in, and to your credit, when you came in, you were tasked the same as everybody else. As I said earlier, there were no golden rings. There were no special parachutes. You weren't given all the business. You were taught the same way everybody else was taught. Christ, how many open houses did you cover a weekend?
4 every weekend.
Yeah, like 4 open houses every weekend, because that's where I told you the business was. I said, go to the open houses, meet the buyers, meet the customers, meet the sales, the sellers. In the
You also told me do direct mail, and I took that to heart and sent out a mailer every single month for like the first 3 or 4 years of my career.
Yeah.
So I would say it's just a mindset of action. Is just taking the advice that we give to everybody
and putting it to play
and actually doing it.
So you did it. You put it in play in totally normal way. But to your credit, I credit Nichols College and the marketing background you got there, and just the marketing mind you have. You relatively quickly in your career, I think even long before you ever made me aware of it, began to envision how you would go about marketing this company and growing this company and taking it to a next level. And
We need Craigslist ads.
Craigslist ads. Right?
That was it. We found you there.
That was it.
Worked out pretty well.
It worked.
It's the best Craigslist ad ever posted.
It worked. And, one thing led to another. And quite frankly, real early on, you came into the business and were born in the Great Recession. And
Which I feel was a blessing.
I know. But that's what you always said to everybody. It was like, I know nothing else.
I got licensed in 2006. I became full-time in 2007. I bought a house. Don't know how that happened. We've had told that conversation
Because in
multiple
those
times.
days, financing all you had to do was fog a mirror.
Exactly. I said, Dad, I got to figure out how to pay my mortgage. How do I get any sales? You said, you should maybe farm your neighborhood and send out some letters. So I sent out letters to the neighborhood. Lo and behold, a neighbor 3 doors up decided to call. We ended up helping them, and that was the start of my real estate career, basically. I think I've told that story on this show before.
Right.
But in essence, it's just taking action and doing those things. But shortly thereafter, Lehman Brothers crashed. The market went down. And it's really all I knew. So I think it was a great market to learn in. I learned how to hustle, learned how to market properties, learned how to market myself, market our agency. And it wasn't as simple as just putting a sign up in the front yard and you'd have, like it is now, a line out the front door with 20 offers to choose from in many circumstances. So
Yeah, absolutely.
talk a little bit about when I know John was pushing me to start the team. I eventually came around, went to you to start to talk about the team. And it was the first time a team was ever considered in the agency.
Absolutely. It was.
And I would say I don't think you were too thrilled about the idea at first. But.
I would say ever since you've been involved, and certainly ever since you came into the equation as well, I have tried really hard to remind myself this ain't your father's real estate business anymore. And meaning that of myself. Old school values will live on forever. Old school methods need to adapt. Remember that. That's a great line.
Wow.
Old school
Cut that one, Nate Dogg.
Old school values. It was very early on that I realized that, we used to spend, as you've heard me say a million times, $100,000 a year in the Providence Journal, because that's how you marketed properties. Because anywhere you'd go, they opened up the paper, and the back page was all the picture ads. My house didn't have a picture ad, And then they'd flip the 6 pages inside, and it was classified after classified after classified. That's what people went to get the real estate information.
I don't miss that objection early in my
I
career.
don't.
Why isn't my home in the Providence Journal?
Yeah.
Well,
Because nobody reads it.
Yeah. I don't like lighting money on fire. That's why.
Exactly. And what we spent today? Zero. And I'm sorry, Providence Journal, to say that, but that's the reality.
Now it goes to Meta.
It's exactly. Now and I don't know that
Zuck living it up.
Unquestionably. I don't know that I ever would have been able to really successfully, I know I could have, but really successfully make that transition.
We've come a long way.
Thank God you guys have thrown me on your back and carried me through the new environment and said, this is what we need to do. And I think pat myself on the back, pat me on the back just a little bit.
Pump his tires.
I've said to you, I trust you. Just take me down the path.
As long as you don't have you as an admin on the Facebook account, we're all set. So, so that's the team. I think when I came into the business, we had 4 agents, maybe on the real estate side.
Probably.
I think it was 4, then 6 when you got here. Now we're pushing 20 with 6 wonderful support, including 2 of my favorite people in the world in this room who are not on camera right now. Thank you both. You're amazing individuals, and we value everything you bring to the company.
Who would that be?
Nathan David Walker and Steph Cicino.
Oh, there you go.
The Make It Happen captain of 2024.
Oh, boy.
Never mind the rest of our support staff. Jay Denardi, Chloe, Amanda Napa-Smith, Jacob Fornio. A lot of great people helping us out to grow this company and team.
And exciting parts is we're to a place right now where, again, talk about evolution. We're to a place right now that one of John's primary focuses, he's got countless primary focuses, one of them is to grow our team. And not just grow the team in a body shop philosophy, but grow the team with the right people that are like-minded, committed to the same culture, core values that we're committed to. And John's just doing a spectacular job putting those pieces in place. And I can't wait to see what it looks like a year from now or 2 years from now with him at the helm of growing this team to become that 30 or 40 person agency or more, because it's going to be dynamite.
I couldn't agree more. He's the right man to do it. He's fantastic. We're lucky to have him.
So if you think about an exciting, rewarding career in real estate, call John. He'd love to talk to you about it.
All right, so let's take it home with the Slocum legacy. I want to get both of your thoughts about carrying the torch forward, because you both hold pivotal roles in carrying that torch forward. John, what does the Slocum legacy mean to you, and how do you intend to carry that torch forward into future generations?
It means everything. I think to kind of summarize both, Phil hit the nail on the head a few minutes ago. Our values need to live on. You know, you need to fit our core values. You need to be ethical. You need to, now you're going to put me on the spot. We're screwing everything up and you're going to put me on the spot for that. Do we really want to go through all of
I
them?
hate you.
But I would say the true values need to live on. You certainly need to be ethical and fit that. The customer always comes first. You know, respect your teammates. You know,
A commitment to excellence, integrity,
our core values.
a mindset of abundance.
But you have to live by those. And if you don't live by those, then this isn't the home for you. But at the same time, the old school tactics need to adapt. We can't keep doing the same things from now until the 100th year, or we're going to find ourselves behind the times very quickly. So we need to hold our values within, make sure everyone else does the same, but continue to adapt and stay ahead of the times with everything else.
We need these young whippersnappers to come in and keep nipping at our heels, keep us going in the right direction, like Anthony's and
One of
Liana's.
the challenges of generational.
What's that?
You know, you asked earlier about challenge of generational. Is that, you know, I know that it is in the past, somewhat recently past, in the past, frustrated the heck out of you of lack of implementation of anything.
Me?
Yeah, you.
Very much so. You were yelling about it this morning.
No, I wasn't going to bring up this
I
morning's
wasn't
meeting.
yelling.
He wasn't yelling.
It was frustration.
I was very frustrated.
He did stamp out of the room, but it's okay.
It's because I was
but
had to
anyway,
get to an
he
appointment.
Slammed the door a little bit too. Yeah.
I
anyway.
walked out. I was like, "Shit!" I think I just slammed that door.
Yeah, he did.
Poor Phil was. You know what else I think we can both look forward to over the next 25 years?
So,
When Lily or Lucy come in and really start bossing him around and telling him that he needs to get with the times and a little taste of his own medicine.
I pray to God I've still got enough squash upstairs that I can watch the interview 23 years from now, 4 years from now, whenever it is, where it's Lily and Lucy and him talking about the transfer of the next generation.
I hope so too. I mean, not that they have to get involved in this business. The same way you were with me, and I'm sure
Yeah, I
Bob
wasn't.
was with Chris.
I wasn't.
Is it was never pressured to get into the business. I made the choice on my own to want to enter the business. And
Can I tell that story?
feel free to tell that
Can I
story.
tell that story? I always love that story. You know, I never pressured you to get into this business. I think I hardly even implied you should get into the business. And I can remember vividly. He worked on the fuel dock down at the marina. One day it was he and I on the dock at the marina. I think it was your junior year or maybe sophomore year of college.
Must have been sophomore year because it could have been junior year because I got licensed between my junior and senior years. So.
Okay, so sophomore, junior year. And he said to me, "Hey, listen, while I got you here, I just wanted to throw something at you." So what's that? He's like, "I think I want to come into the business." And I was kind of surprised at the place and location and everything. I said, "Really? Oh, that's interesting." I said, what made you say that?" He's like, "Well, truthfully," he's like, "you know my passion for golf. And, you know, but the truth is, I'm never going to be a professional golfer." He's like, "You know, you got to hit 12,000 golf balls a day, and, you know, you got to..."
I was nowhere near that good.
Yeah, exactly. I'm probably not really that good, and I'm never going to make it very deep in that whole environment.
You had started to accept you weren't going to play in the Masters.
Yeah.
I knew that long before my sophomore year of college.
Yeah, he broke plenty of clubs to convince himself of that. So that's out the window. He's like, I'm truthfully, he said, I'm not going to be a doctor or a lawyer or nothing. I don't have any personal passions in that area. And the more I think about it, Dad, the more I think, our businesses have given us a great life. They've provided for us very well. We have a real good reputation in the community. And I probably will never get another opportunity like this to follow in the footsteps and to take it to the next level. So if it's okay with you, I think that's where I'd like to go. And I was really, really proud of his process of coming to that conclusion. And I quickly looked at him and said, there's no free rides. I said, I want one.
I also at the time in school was kind of doing case studies on Fortune 500 type companies, and also knew some people who worked in large corporations like that, and really quickly realized that I have no interest in
being in big corporate America.
No, at all. So it seemed to make a lot of sense. I love our local area. I love our community.
Yep.
You obviously laid a great path ahead of us, and I'm extremely fortunate to follow in your footsteps and hopefully forge some of my own. And it's been a lovely ride so far, and I look forward to the next 25 years. That's for sure.
Yep. I would say
I should say the next 75 years, but I got 25 in my mind as the end goal there.
You do 25 more. You're 20 now. You do 25 more. You'll be ready to pass the torch too.
All right. So before we give some final key takeaways and talk a little bit more, let's jump into a quick market stats. Let's tie in some kind of industry news to this special episode numero 5. I went there again for. It might be my calling card. I'm not sure. That might be what I get known for. Anyway, let's talk about some market stats. What do you want to jump into, John? Quarter one or March?
Do quarter one.
Let's look at quarter one. So we are comparing Q1 of 2024 to quarter one of 2023. Let's look at Rhode Island single-family stats first. New listings. We saw 2,099 new listings, marking a 0.85% decrease year over year. So small decrease on new listings, guys, statewide. But check this out. If we jump down to Kent County saw almost a 14% increase in new listings during Q1. Warwick saw a 24% increase, approximately 23.98 in new listings, 24% increase, 243 new listings in Warwick this quarter compared to 196 last year.
Wow. Interesting.
Yep. And also, while we stay on the track for new listings, multifamily saw a 13% increase for new listings, and condos saw a 9.5% increase.
Is that just at Warwick?
No, those are statewide.
Those
for
statewide,
Kent
okay.
condo and multis. Total sales statewide, single families down about 1%. Kent County sales up about 3.5%, and Warwick sales, big jump, guys, 14% increase in the total number of sales in Q1 here in Warwick.
Of course, that's comparing it to a year 2023 that was kind of rough year.
Yeah, but still find it interesting. I mean,
Yeah, very interesting.
Statewide down, Warwick up 14.
Very
statewide
interesting
down
stat.
about 1%. Condo total sales up about 7%. Multis, big drop. Total sales down about 11.3% on multis, statewide multis. Yeah.
What's interesting about all of that is where the listings are up, that's where the sales are up. The houses hit the market.
More inventory.
It's upping the sales.
More opportunities.
For sellers, get it out there, you'll cash in.
Love that. Let's look at some sales prices, and we'll wrap this pot up. Average sales price for Rhode Island single-family home sales, quarter one. Average sales price. You want to take any guesses, boys? I know you haven't looked at this yet.
Rhode Island?
Yeah, single
Average
family.
sales for quarter one.
Average sales price. All single families across the entire state of Rhode Island. The suspense is killing me.
464.
547.
John's the winner chicken dinner. 572.
Wow.
That is the number on the average sales price. Median sales price. Any wild guesses?
That's going to be in the fours.
It is gonna be in the four.
I'll stay with 474.
417.
Johnny's the winner again. 440.
Obviously, I have no idea.
You can tell this guy's just out in the field doing his
Obviously,
thing.
I have no idea what I'm talking about.
Commitment to excellence over here.
It's
So
committed.
440 median sales price, single families. How about Kent County average sales price? We need some quicker guesses, guys.
532.
I'm going with what he said.
Good strategy.
Just at 531, you would have won. 431, 969
Ooh, wow,
in
way
Kent
off.
County. And the median sales price, Kent County, 395. That marks almost a 10.5% increase quarter one versus last year. Wow. Warwick, interesting. Warwick is actually higher than Kent County. Warwick average sales price 424, 886, a 12% increase year over year. Median sales price of 400 on the money, 17.6% increase. Median sales price quarter one 2023 was 340 in Warwick, now up to $400,000. Condos saw a slight increase in the average sales price, a little over 1%, and the median sales price for all condos statewide was up almost 6.75. And multis, while the sales are down, still seeing big price gains in the multifamily market. Average sales price $545 for a multifamily across the entire state. That was an 18+% increase year over year. And the median sales price for multifamily is $506. Median sales price over $500,000. Anyone want to take a guess as to the median sales price in quarter one of a multifamily home in Rhode Island in 2020? 2020 median family. 2020 multifamily median sales price quarter one.
What do you think, John?
318.
319.
John won again. 286.5.
Ooh, that was lower than I thought.
286.5 2020, 506 today for a median sales price. That's bananas. So that wraps our quarter one market update. Any final key takeaways? My main takeaway is I'm glad John has smiled a couple of times. He's in a little bit better mood since joining us.
He's our man.
My true takeaway is a big thank you to you. Thank you to George and Hazel. It's been an amazing ride so far. I feel very fortunate to be part of it and have my own little, hopefully, influence on it going forward in the future. It's been a pleasure to work alongside of you for close to 20 years. Look forward to many more, even though I joke around and bust your crackers often about going into the old folks' home. You can stick around as long as you'd like. So,
oh no, did he really say
It's all
that?
recorded.
Did he really say
This
that?
is recorded. Oh, yeah.
I didn't say collect a paycheck. I said he can come in and open the
hang
mail
around, can hang
and hang
around.
around and have lunch with us every day. I'd be totally fine with that. So,
Well, I'll close by saying how thankful and appreciative I am of you, particularly in the last 20 years, your commitment to excellence, your carrying of the torch. You guys are as a team, because I think you play off each other so well. So you accentuate each other's strengths, and the real estate half of our business could not be in a better place. Just could not be.
insurance too. And thank you to Chris. Thank you to Bob.
Absolutely.
Please, yeah.
And that's where I was going next.
Okay, sorry.
And, no, it's all good. And I'm so proud of where Chris has done on the insurance side of the operation. I'm so appreciative of what Bob has did in his career. And as I said earlier, there's no better expert in his business than he was in the insurance business. Obviously, my mom and dad, it goes deep there. They laid the groundwork. They're the reason we're here, and they're the reason we all have this opportunity. But last and certainly not least, it's all about the community. It's all about the customers. I like to think we earn it, but they give us our lifeblood. They give us our strength. They give us our power. They give us our remembrance and our glory of why we do this each and every day. We change people's lives, and we change people's lives in positive fashions, whether that be on the insurance side of the house, trying like hell to protect them in every way we can think to do so, or on the real estate side of the house, helping them accomplish their dreams, deal with things at challenging times sometimes, be it deaths, divorces, whatever it may be. We're so fortunate. And I, for one, I know we as a team can't thank the community enough for its support and its commitment and its constant support of everything we do.
We're here to be a service to
the only
them.
reason we're here.
It really is the only reason we're here. I mean, I'm glad you brought that up because I know I got addicted to that right away. My first sale, I remember it wasn't even my clients. It was the buyers. I had a listing. It was the buyers who were over the moon thankful and appreciative, and just the gratitude coming from them on helping them make that change and that purchase to change their family's life was absolutely mind-blowing to me, and I was hooked right away. I still love calling buyers, telling them their offer was accepted. I still love telling sellers we got a price that they weren't even expecting. I still love making differences in people's lives, whether it's on the real estate side, insurance side. I know we talk a lot about me on the real estate, Chris on the insurance. We're licensed in both. I do insurance and real estate. Same thing with Chris, same with John. We just tend to focus more on certain sides to really be that true expert in those fields.
Absolutely.
And have the proper person providing that expertise in each situation or to fall back on. I still write a lot of insurance. John does too. But our day-to-day typically is a lot more on the real estate side, and Chris does the exact opposite, so we balance each other out so well. So.
Yep, fabulous.
Any final thoughts from you there, Johnny?
Phil was talking, and I was like, why didn't we have him go last? Because now I have to try to follow that up.
It's like going on after
Yeah,
the
I was like,
Beatles.
I know Nick's going to look at me, and I have to somehow go after that.
I tried to give a little buffer there for you and screw my thing up first. So.
But really just thanks to both of you, Chris, George, Hazel. It's an honor and a privilege to come and work here every day. And obviously thanks to the community, because none of us would be here without everyone out there.
Love it. That's
Cheers
a wrap.
to the next 25.
Cheers to the next 75. Let's
75, but get to a centennial.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Looking forward to that.
I'll be checking it
It's
out.
been an amazing 75 years. Thank you all for tuning in. Do you think George and Hazel ever thought we'd be recording a podcast called Shootin' the SHT?
They're watching us right now.
It was probably
They
the
watch us right now, and Bump's sitting there shaking his head, smiling, and Nan's going, yeah.
You don't think that was on the initial business plan?
They probably would have named it something slightly different, but it's all good.
So we're just here to have a little banter, go back and forth,
Absolutely.
and talk about our businesses and our.
You make them proud.
No.
They're looking down. We all make them prouder every day.
We're extremely fortunate. Thank you all for tuning in. Looking forward to the episode number 6 sometime in the near future. But I got to go catch a plane and go hang out with the mouse down
There
in
you go.
Florida. So
Happy mouse.
thank you so much. Have a wonderful evening, all. Thanks for tuning in.
That's a wrap on today's episode of Shootin' the SHT. Be sure to subscribe wherever you heard this podcast so you never miss a future episode. And if you enjoyed this content, please share it with others and leave us a rating and a review. Buying, selling, or want to connect with Nick and JT? Visit Slocum Home Team on Facebook and Instagram or slocumhometeam.com. We'll see you next time.